Alright, Chapter 6, Tactical Petroleum Terminal, Section 4, Terminal Operations. Alright, Operations Order. Each terminal prepares its own operation order based on the daily pumping order issued by the Chief Dispatcher. The daily pumping order is covered in Chapter 9. Contents and format. Terminal operations are described below. Note, when the introduction JP8 with a single fuel with a battlefield batching and scheduling may be not be needed with the military pipeline or hoses. However, the purpose of the dismantling of the batching and scheduling procedure with the fixed tankage will be discussed in the event. Multiple fuel pipelines are required with the commercial facilities are operated by the Army personnel. Motor, gasoline, diesel fuel will also be discussed in the event with the commercial facilities are operated by the Army personnel. Content for written operations should include the following. Each operation specific personnel assigned with the defined duties, status of line fills and position interface, and if any exists, valve pumps and tanks to be used, estimate the desired flow rates, product quantities of each of the products to be received, the issue for the time of the operations are to be begin, desired pumping pressure to be maintained with the communication system to be used with the firefighting equipment to have on hand, location of the vessel if applicable, the estimated time to arrival, the number of size of the hoses with the lines, hose handling equipment to be used, any special precautions and instructions. Format and operation should include standard procedure, general orders, special orders. These are discussed below. The standard procedure for the commonly preferred operation normally prepared in advance. These operations include setting valve with the selecting specific pumps. General orders include specifically the individual responsibility, but job assignments of the communication system to be used and include the telephone control system. Also, general orders should include the fighting equipment needed for the operation, hose handling equipment to be used, with the number and size of the hose needed for the vessel should also be listed. Special orders show how the specific product, the amount of each of the product to be moved, where the product to go, with the time to start, with the stop. Each operation vessel or barge involved with and operating with more than one berth is available. The order shall be specified with the berth to be used. General operating rules and procedure for the terminal design with the product demands for the nature for each of the receipt with the issue product determine the safety. Specific operating procedure, however, the certain rules and procedure that must be followed with any of the terminal efficient operation and safety they are discussed below. Personal assignment and training. All personnel must be trained with no entire system such that each person will be familiar with all the other doings. Only experienced qualified personnel should be assigned with the independent work. Each of the person must receive the complete operational instructions and must understand them personally. Should be trained with the anticipate emergencies so that they can cope with various situations. Operating rules. General operating rules must be followed with the listed below for the product, and each fixed tank must be sampled. The gauge, the collapsible tank must be sampled before, after, receive the quantities received. The issue must be volume corrected in accordance with the AR 710. 2. As our dissimilar product must be finished with the common line of the manifold with the same product being received. The issue before opening gauge is taking sampling gauging procedures. Chapter 3 must be followed. Quality surveillance and procedure that covered in Military Handbook 200. Operation should be stopped and started slowly, carefully. Vessels valves shall be opened and closed slowly. Pressure with the belt brought up gradually. Pressure gauges shall be watched so the working pressure are not exceeded. Tank vents must be checked for the proper operation before product of the pumped in or out of a tank. As stuck or a clogged vent will cover the pressure buildup in the tank. The only way to check the vent is to detect fume emissions by smelling or other means of eliciting the vent clamping. During continuous pumping operations, the receiving the tank shall not be closed off until another tank is opened. If the pipeline is down, the tank will normally be closed, except for the need to be open and relieve line pressure causes by thermal expansion. All heads of the fixed tank must be closed, except for when you're using gauge and sampling. There must be positive communication between the personnel operating points and the system at all times. Water bottoms must never be used with the fixed tankage unless they are authorized by proper technical authority. If the water bottoms are authorized, they should be checked for the monthly with the hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is corrosive. Cover the product and fail with a copper strip corrosion test. Except switches with no more than tank must be opened with the line system necessary. With all the tanks must be kept fully practicable to avoid evaporation. Cover the high temperature for the two tanks partially filled with the same product shall be combined. Make one full tank. Proper tool for each for the job is always available. The keys must be available to lock the valve, lock access pits. All safety precautions must be observed. The operations may be stopped if the condition becomes unsafe. The unusual condition must be investigated before operations continue. With the tank started for the tank, its contents are to be transferred with the other tank of the ones. Necessary precautions must be taken. The gate valve never be force closed with the gate valve rising and non-rising stem is opened with the clove of the wheel should be determined at least 1/4 turn for the fully open closed limit. This always free wheel movement to show the valve is not stuck. The valves should always be double checked with the check. Make sure that they are correct ones that open and close the following into and out of the tank where verify with as soon as possible after the starting operation. Automatic tank gauges must read within 15 minutes of the starting operation periodically. After that, jet fuel tanks must not be gauged manually while they are being filled or emptied. Extreme caution must be used while tanks containing other products are gauged while they are being filled or emptied. All bulk petroleum working tanks are gauged daily. All non-working tanks are gauged at least once a week. Receive product. The number of the general procedure for the tank of the valve of the product is pumped into the tank of the procedure for the discussed below. The fixed tanks inspect the empty tank before they receive the assigned product of the tank is and dirty free with the vapor to have cleaned with all tanks. Fixed and collapsible to drain any of the water collected within the bottom fixed tank of the water bottom with the because of the leaks. Keep the water level below the tank inlet as general rule, but they receive only one tank at a time. Watch the filling, operating, closing with a fixed tank with a rough gauge of all the tanks except the receiving the jet full every hour with the avoid overflow of the report of cumulative receipt. Do not take eulogists, water soundings, temperature sample to any of the receiving jet fuel until at least 20 minutes after the pumping has stopped and flow cease. On collapsible tanks, watch the string line over the tank to determine where the tank is closed to be filled. When the tank is nearby, open another tank valve with the dirty divert fuel flow close off the full tank of the general rule of leave 5% of the fixed tank capacity of vapor space. Uncollapsible, the tank of the top tank shall be touched with the string line suspended over the tank. Use the appendix A with the guide of the outages, different products with different temperatures. When pumping jet fuel in the empty fixed tank with low flow rate, do not allow the flow rate through the loading line to exceed 3 feet per second with an inlet covered with at least 3 feet and product with resume with the normal flow rate. When pumping gas of the jet fuel with a vapor-free tank, limit with the flow rate to 1/4 of the maximum flow rate until it has been covered by 3 feet of the product. After the product has settled with the time of the draining of the water from the tanks, perform quality surveillance operation of the fuel. Issue for the product first item was out policy. The issue for the old stock first should be filed with the product should be not mixed with the following general procedure for the below or for issuing fuel. Average issuing seldom required with more than one tank in online at a time. The large issue with the made with the tank's individual pumps product with may have been issued from the 2 or more tanks at the time have the desired flow rate would have done reposition and operator each of the pump regulate the product flow. In some facilities, operators must be able to remotely control the individual tank pumps electronically. Tank of the booster pump station, the delivery point that can shut down with it quickly. In the emergency of the operator, the pumps with the constantly being each at the pump. However, an operator must be at each pump with the gasoline or jet fuel is used. Conducting quality surveillance according to the Military Handbook 200. Internal transfers, periodic transfer of tanks for the terminal when terminal is not receiving the product from the main pipeline, but the product may be circulated at the end of the stratification. All free bottom water should be drawn off from such products. Pipelines should be checked periodically during intra-terminal transfers. Removal of water from storage tank. The water must be periodically removed from the both fixed and collapsed storage tank. The removal of the water from the fixed tanks valve. The drain of the water, jet fuel, each for the product of the receive the daily with the test for the tanks for water with water indicating paste. Each of the tank is gauged. Keep the record of the water checks. Drain water bottom of all the tanks except for the jet tank for the day after the product is received. Just before the product is issued from the tanks, check to see if the water tanks have the water draw off at the lowest point. If there is water in still with additional pump, 3 7/8 inch water draw off at the lowest point of the tank is open internal inspection. Drain water slowly on into tank vehicles to prove of the wastewater disposal. Do not discharge tanks front drains with the public sewer. The waterways that dispose wastewater in accordance with the local heads with the waste for the standard operation procedure. Remove water from the fuel tanks and give it high enough to be drawn in the fuel outlet. For permanent facilities, the product recovery shall be installed with separate fuel water mixtures. Line placement. Line displacement. Line should be filled with the product, however, the line shut down with sometimes drained with the prevent pilferage and the sabotage of the temporary change with the prevent loss of the pressure loss, the air release may cause the inaccurate issue with the receiver. Therefore, lines must be filled with the package each after the operation. When there is a loop or a double line system, lines may be filled with a circulating product in which with or without booster pumps. The line may be filled with allowing air to escape through one or more vents for the high points. At the end of the line, the process is much slower, but may leave the air pockets in the line, causing gauging errors. However, this may be the only means available. The water may be used to displace product only and specifically authorized technical authority. The process should give the last resort because of the difficult to remove the dispose of the water completely. Pipeline meters. Pipeline meters may reduce the product with the cover of the leaks, allowing the more reliable continuous check of the pipelines, although they reduce the loss of the terminal operation, providing means of the checking product received. The deliveries meters may not stay accurate, which they are constant use, so they should be verified periodically on whether the accuracy of the doubt. Alright, records and report to DOD Form 250 material inspection. Receiving the part of the DOD Form 250 multi-purpose form that you with the report shipping with the receipt of the package patrolling related products for the contact with the government owned with the coastline pipeline delivery. They also form G with the report shipment of the receipt with the tank vehicle with the tanker car from tank contractors. Instruction preparing DOD Form 250 contained with the DOD Form Instruction 4140-25M. DOD Form 251 tanker barge inspection receiving the port. DOD Form 251 is used bulk petroleum related products. The move of the tanker barge is used mainly to report origin except for the cargo shipment of the report with the government owned product destination acceptance of tanker barge cargo. Instruction preparing form of the DOD Form Instruction 4140-25M. DA Form 5467 hour petroleum product pipeline leakage report. DA Form 5467 hours used to report the leak found anywhere along the pipeline. Class 3 status report or Class 3 status report must be kept at each of the terminal pipelines on a daily basis. Although no prescribed form for this report, the report shows the stock of the staff of the terminal for the past 24 hours. It is sent for the higher headquarters of the chief dispatcher. File copies are kept at the terminal higher headquarters with the copies of the permanent record of the terminal activities, part of the total record of the pipeline system. Minimum information needed for the report is files, supply point, number, date, the report period, receipt of the product by type of the into terminal, total issue product by type of the terminal, total amount of product on hand by type of the source tank of the tank vehicle, the barge, and package at the end of the period, total ullage available, the specific procedure for that tanking designation, end of the period, information unusable, storage location, cause of leak, ruptures, other damage over the region with the unstable source of the anticipated change of the ullage due to the maintenance are all reported. Estimated requirements issued by type of the next 24-hour period. Daily terminal inventory report. The daily terminal inventory report used only the cost of coastal terminals received the product with the tank of the report show the little marine tank terminal bulk fuel storage permit tanker cargo adjustment before bloating. Amounts reported thousands of barrels of nearest hundreds of barrels. An example of 17.2. Port telephone daily to sub area petroleum office gives the location of the terminal filing information each of the product. Military inventory shore tankage, commercial inventory, shore tankage allocated with the military using inventory abroad, floating storage, daily supply on hand, usable inventory pot, and port tanker that have been discharged awaiting discharge. DA Form 4786 petroleum product tanker farm intake record. The DA Form 4786 U for the record of the flow of the petroleum product for the storage tank area from dock area for the other point entry. DA Form 5463R petroleum product tanker farm outturn record. The DA Form 5463 U for the record of the petroleum product with the storage area with the tank with the cargo tank vehicles, pipelines, U for the shipment of the tanker farm consigned with the outgoing vessel, the tanker cars, tanker vehicle, the former U for the product with the transfer from the dock area, loading rack, bypass, terminal storage, and emergencies. Weekly petroleum, bulk petroleum terminal message report, bulk petroleum terminal message report, RCSDLAW 1884 DFSCM MIN. An operational report of the Defensive Supply Center of the Commodity Management of the Tanker Car Scheduling Review of the report is used for the answer for the qualities with all levels of the federal government. Reports are prepared at 800 hours on Friday of each week. These arrive at the Defensive Fuel Supply Center no later than the following Monday. Information copies for the same of the proper Joint Petroleum Office of the Defensive Fuel Supply Center Fuel Region Instruction Preparing Report of the DOD Form 4140-25M. DOD Form 1788 Petroleum Terminal Report. The DOD Form 1788 RCSL DLAM 1883 Defensive Fuel Supply Center is prepared for the East Terminal Complex. Tanker serving floating storage custody products of the home, but the Defensive Logistics Agency reports are prepared monthly. Instruction preparing forwarding the report and given them with the DOD Form 4140-25M. Our annual bulk storage facility report with a report of the RCDDD Fort MA 506 to give the data of the bulk storage facility with a 500 barrel capacity more, either single manifold system for the report with the machine produced format with the provided with the annual with the Defensive Supply Center based on annual review update with the military Department of Defense Fuel Supply Center with the activity stored with the discharge change with it include product allocation change with the excess of the 10,000 barrels of any activity more reported. Must be reported to the Defensive Fuel Supply Center with the changes of the current instruction for the preparing report given in DOD Form 4140-25M. Section 5, maintenance of the manual covers the lubrication, preventive maintenance, corrective maintenance of the material of the equipment of the typical tactical petroleum terminals. Other major items of such as the hose line pump, collapsible tank and filter, separately refer to the appropriate technical manual for the detail of repair and maintenance of the procedure. Lubricating practice. The maintenance mechanical equipment requires lubrication to overcome the friction, minimize wear and damage, the corrosion of the film. Lubricant produced. The procedure for the schedule should be established for the U.S. Army. Lube orders available. The lubricated equipment in accordance with the instruction in this section for the application preservation compounds include the lubricating when appropriate. Pivot pin points on the various pieces of the equipment should be lubricated generally close. Your surface is lubricated to prevent corrosion. Unpainted surfaces should be coated with lubricant to prevent corrosion. Generally, if the part of the pivot that rotates slides and is subject to friction and require lubrication, work can be generally handled with the conjunction with a preventive maintenance program. And then it shows your hose assembly quality, length, location, PS1, PS2, and no. Table 6.2 hose assembly continued. Table 6.2 fittings and valve assembly quantity, PS1, PS2 notes. Chapter 7, the Inland Petroleum Distribution System.